Hello, Year 6. Welcome to your Thursday's literacy lesson. Okay, so most of you will have finished the Dragon book yesterday. So most of you will be moving on now to this one, the one that's got a train on the front. Okay, if you haven't quite finished the Dragon book, don't worry. You can either flick back to the beginning of the Dragon book and do those ones if you want to, or I will be going through some of the monkey book as well after this. So don't worry. I don't really mind which one you do, but I'll go through some of the monkey book so that if you need some help, you can watch this video. But if you want to continue in the Dragon book, that's also fine. So if you've got the train book, your first one is called The Word Party. So we're on page 2. I'll go through the other ones afterwards. So it says, Richard Edwards is a British writer. He was born in England and has spent time in Italy, France and Spain. He has written several collections of poetry as well as lots of picture books. In this poem, he imagines how different types of words might behave at a party. Okay, sounds very interesting, doesn't it? Okay, so it says, write down 2 things that the poet thinks are impolite. So not very polite, that means, so maybe a little bit rude. So you've got to have a good look through, have a good read of that poem and see if you can find 2 things that the poem thinks aren't very polite, so a little bit rude. Number 2, write down 1 adjective to describe the behaviour of swear words, line 7, according to the poem. Why do you think swear words are written about in this way? Okay, so find line 7. So it says swear words stamp around and shout. Okay, so think about, you need to think of an adjective to describe them. So how are they behaving? So are they behaving well or not? And then think about, why do you think the author's chosen to say that they're like that? So think about what swear words are. We shouldn't really use them, should we? So have a think about it. Number 3, why do you think the poet says that hyphenated words hold hands? So if a word's got a hyphen in it, let's find it, line 14. So it says hyphenated words hold hands. So hyphenated words is words with a hyphen in, so with a little dash in the middle. So why is it saying it's like they're holding hands? Because it's like they're joined together almost, isn't it? They're joined together with a hyphen. You could write something about that if you wanted to. Number 4 says, why do you think line 20 is separated from all the other lines in the poem? So have a think. At the bottom, the last line is separate, isn't it? Why do you think he's chosen to do that? Have a read what the line says and then have a think. There is 2 marks for that question, so make sure you give a little bit of detail in that answer just to make sure you get both. Number 5 says, what technique does the poet use to make the words seem alive? So what is it? When we say something is alive when it's not, we do use this in literacy. We've definitely done this feature in literacy, so have a think about that. Which is your favourite line in this poem? So this is up to you. There's no right answer. You've just got to pick your favourite line, but then explain why that's your favourite line. The bottom one says, some people might say that dictionaries are boring books. Do you think this poem makes dictionaries seem boring or interesting? Again, it's up to you which one you choose, but you've just got to make sure you explain it so that you would get both marks. Okay? So that's if you've got the train book. If you've got a monkey book, you will only have this monkey book from the bubble closure. So if you've got this and you started in this in the bubble closure, then you can carry on with this now. It's up to you. So if you started in the bubble closure, then your next page is page 10 and it's called Amy Johnson. Okay, so you've got a little bit of text here all about Amy Johnson. Okay, so you can learn all about her and then you've got 3 questions to answer. So it says, how old was Amy when she started learning to fly? Okay, and it says it in the second sentence. It says, she began to take flying lessons when she was, so you can find the answer. Number 2, why were moths chosen to celebrate Amy's life? So have a look. It says, in 2016, giant sculptures of brightly coloured moths were hung on the walls of buildings around Hull to celebrate Amy's life. But I wonder why. You're going to have to go back a little bit. So go a bit further up, and I can see the word moth a bit higher up. So go and find that, read that sentence, and that might help explain why they chose to use moths to celebrate her life. The bottom question then says, is this text fiction or non-fiction? How can you tell? So remember, fiction means it's made up, it's not real, whereas non-fiction means it's real, it did happen. Okay, so you have a think which one you think it is, and then explain how you can tell. So if you decide it's non-fiction, you need to say, I think it is non-fiction because, and then give me an answer, a reason why. Okay? If you're still in the octopus book, then your next text is on page 20, and it's Little Miss Muffet. Okay, you might recognise this rhyme. So you've got a rhyme to read at the top that says, Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. I'm not reading it all though, you need to read a little bit. So you need to have a read, sound it out. So a-l-ong, k-aim. So along came a spider, spider. So you read the rest. And then it says, draw the last picture to match the story. So you've got a picture of her sat eating her curds and whey. Then a spider comes, and then you've got to draw a picture to match the end of that rhyme. So read the end again, read the last couple of sentences, and then draw a picture to match that to show your understanding of what you've read. Okay, your word power work for today then. So we're only going to do one page again today in your word power work book, and it's page 16 and it's building up words. Remember, don't worry if you haven't got a word power book, you can do your handwriting instead. On page 16 then, it's called building up words. It says you can make words longer and longer by adding more than one prefix and suffix to a root. Just make sure you get them in the right order, otherwise your words will be nonsense. So look at the word unhelpfulness. So un is your prefix, help is your root, full is a suffix, and so is ness. Okay, so we've added one prefix and two suffixes to that word. So it says underline the root word, then circle the individual prefixes and suffixes. So disappearance then, dis and ants are your prefix and suffix, and appear is your root word, so that's underlined. So in transformation, form would be your root word, so you can underline form. Ation is going to be a suffix, so you can circle that. And then trans would be your prefix. Okay, so have a go at the other two. The next one says, these words have been scrambled up. Rearrange the roots, prefixes and suffixes to put them right. So you've got to make these words make sense. So at the moment, you've got markable, unre. That's not a word. So you need to try and put them in order. So I'd start with un, and then see if you can make the rest of the word make sense. The bottom one then says, how big can you make these root words? Add a prefix or a suffix at each stage. So you've been given agree. So you've been given disagree and then disagreement. So fresh. So try and think of a prefix you can put before fresh, and then see if you can add a suffix at the end. Just try and make sure your word makes sense before you write it. And then same for grace. Like you could put dis for disgrace, and then you could add full at the end for disgraceful. Okay, so I've helped you with that one. So you have a go at fresh, and then that's your work for today done. Okay. So make sure you send me any pictures. Thank you to those that have been sending them. It's lovely to see your work. And make sure you email me if you've got any questions at all. Okay, see you tomorrow.